Special guest John Rivas from Rivas Talks Sports YouTube channel joins the show to discuss the state of the Packers following free agency and all things NFL draft.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey, yeah, ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm cash.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sounds Gouda. I am one of your two co-hosts, Jordan Olson, and my best friend and co-host here is Rob Ralph. Today, we're very excited to have a special guest and do a collaboration with John Rivas from Rivas Talks Sports. Welcome, John. So how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, we're super excited for this conversation. We're going to be talking a little bit of, free agency feelings, a little bit of NFL draft talk. Obviously, that's the next big thing in the NFL season here. So before we jump into that, we just, as always, want to thank any new and returning listeners that we have. We have new episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast every Wednesday and Saturday. And you can connect with Rob and I on X at Sounds Gouda. Rob has 3 A's at the end of that. And then I'm at Olson George. So cool. And just one other tease. We've been doing our prospect positional deep dives, and we have a tool that we're developing that we're planning to share with our followers if we can get to 500 subscribers before the NFL draft. So if you haven't subscribed yet, or you know somebody else that would enjoy our content, please help us out with that, and we will give you a great resource going into the NFL draft. So, John, let's do it. Let's dive in. Free agency came and went. I think there's a contingency of Packers fans that were very unsatisfied with free agency. I know others really like the fit. So, how do you feel about the Packers free agent class this year and what the state of the roster is after those additions?
Yeah, I mean, I personally feel like we could have done a little bit more, especially with the wide receiver core, with Watson being out up until 12 to 13, week 12, week 13. I think we could have added some type of explosion to that offense to help open up and unlock that offense as well. And especially from a long-term standpoint, with Watson, Dobbs being on the last year of the rookie deal, we definitely have to think long-term. So I think kind of having a veteran in that room would have definitely helped us a bit. And especially with our pass rush, I think we could have also maybe added an edge, whether he was younger or older, like Khalil Mack. I think that could have helped us out a lot. We saw how non-disruptive the pass rush was against quality playoff teams like the Vikings, Lions, Eagles. I think we could have added more heat, maybe a veteran in that room to kind of help our younger edge rushers out a little bit. But I feel like we could have done a little bit more. But I feel like getting a cornerback, especially with the expectation of, trading Jair, it was kind of a good move, and definitely kind of beefing up the offensive line, getting Aaron Banks. So I think it was very solid and kind of helped mitigate some risks that we could have went through at those positions.
Mm-hmm. So, John, moving on into the draft, but who do you have for at least 2 to 3 targets for the Packers for round one that some fans should look out for?
Yeah, the 2 draft prospects that I'm really looking into, especially like looking at their film, I really love Nick Scorton, edge. Definitely has that prototypical size, weight that the Packers look for. Especially when the game I was watching against LSU, he kind of hit a nice little swim or a spin move on Will Campbell and got past him. Like, that's like a top 10 prospect tackle guard in the draft. So the fact that he was able to get by him, I think that's very huge for our edge team. I think he has a nice pass rush package that I think some of our edge players may lack. Another one that I like is cornerback Trey Amos. Fits the height, fits the weight, very versatile with coverage. He can play zone, man, be in your face. He can help deceive the quarterbacks a little bit. He could look like he play man and then drop back in coverage and kind of get into the way of other routes. So I think he's a huge pick. And defensive tackle, I'll say Derek Harmon. I think we kind of need a nice presence in the interior side of things, just kind of wrecking havoc over centers and guards. I kind of feel like, with him having the season he had this past season with the Oregon Ducks, 55 pressures, I mean, that is amazing, especially believe the Oregon's were in the Big Ten, and that's a really competitive conference. So for him to even have that kind of presence, I think that'll be huge for our defensive line as well. Those are my 3 prospects I like.
Yeah, I love all 3 of those guys. Rob, we haven't shared this in a while. We've been doing our deep dive, but like, who's on your short list right now, Rob? I mean, if you had to pick 2 or 3 guys right now, and by the way, the Scorton pick is awesome, and I know that Goody was just at Texas A&M's pro day, I know, and he was seen to be having some extensive conversation with Nick Scorton, so I definitely think there's a little bit of smoke there. And I guess the other thing with that is for people who aren't paying closely attention to the Packers, I guess, draft stock this year, he's probably going to be that guy if they selected him that has a consensus ranking of like 36 or 38, and we select him at 23, and your average fan is going to be upset by the reach. But I think
Yeah,
he's a great fit.
I do. I do.
Yeah, for me, and George, we've talked about this at nauseum, but Kenneth Grant from Michigan, the second coming of BJ Raji. Just love his tape, love what he can do. Obviously, losing TJ Slayton, Kenny Clark is on his third contract. I would love what he would bring. Exactly. I mean, everything from his tape feels like BJ Raji to me. So would love him first and foremost for the Packers if he's not already taken. But another one too, Trey Amos, I think would come in right away as well too. You just touched on it, John, but really, really good. Can play outside. Lost a lot of depth there, with Rochelle signing with the Chiefs. Who knows with Jair Alexander, Ballantyne gone with the Colts too. So obviously need to add some depth and some outside versatility there as well because we got a lot of inside with Nixon, Hobbs, right? Even Buller too can play a little bit of that nickel. So I love Trey Amos as a prospect for the Packers too. So those are my two. What about you, Jordan?
My list is going to be fairly redundant, especially defensive tackle, corner. The one guy I'd really like to add to that list is Mykel Williams. I know that the Packers just had him in for a top 30, but I think he diversifies this edge rush room. I do think that he can be a 3-down player. I really like him, and obviously Goody loves his Georgia Bulldogs as well. So he's on my short list in addition to the guys that you already talked about. So kind of thinking about this conversation, we named a lot of great prospects that we could take: edge, corner, defensive tackle. But John, what do you think is the biggest priority now that we've moved out of free agency and we're going to target prospects on day one or day two? Is that corner? Is that edge? Is it defensive tackle? Like, what do you think is, we're not going to be able to address them all on the first day or two, but how would you attack it? What is your priority number one?
Priority number one, I would probably say the cornerback position. The reason being is because, we just recently fired our defensive line coach. We just got a new one. So I don't know if Goot thinks like it's a coaching issue than a personnel issue. And when you look at the cornerback room on paper, especially if Jair is gone, the talent looks a bit thin. So I'm sure, like, if we don't beef up or at least attack that priority, they're going to be like, oh, Hobbs, Valentine, Nixon, don't scare us. And I think that's something that we don't want to go through with quarterbacks kind of licking their chops, looking at our cornerback room. So I want to say priority number one is kind of just adding depth. We did lose key players in free agency that we didn't retain, so we're missing depth, and kind of having that X factor boundary corner to kind of be that Jair replacement. So I think that would be very key for our pass defense, especially if the pass rush isn't getting home.
A lot of good points there. I mean, Rob, do you have a different opinion? I've been thinking a lot about this, so I have a response, but like, what do you think is the Packers' biggest priority as we record this episode today?
Yeah, I mean, I do like cornerback as well. I think defensive tackle for me probably is going to be the most important. As Goody says, we like to get there. We would like to try and get there with four, right? With four defensive linemen. So I like being able to try and get some pressure up the middle, get some more bigger bruisers or bodies in there. Again, to Kenneth Grant, you know, I think would be a prime one there if we can get him. But if not, this class is really deep, so I really like what we could get there in the latter type of rounds. But getting some more big bruisers, ones in there that can stop the run, that can also add a little bit of pass rush, being able to create some havoc on the opposing team's offensive line, I think would just mold well and would help the cornerback room too as well. For me, I think it's defensive tackle, but cornerback I could also see too as well.
It's a very deep draft class with defensive linemen and edge. Like if the Packers decide to target a specific position in round one, you're still going to get a starting caliber player in the trenches and the edge, like round two, round three. Like another person that hasn't been getting a much talked about, but Tyleik Williams is another one out of Ohio State. I watched a couple games from him. He could play three tech. He could play nose tackle. Very athletic. He reminds me of a very athletic version of DJ Reader. And he's 22 years old, 4 years at Ohio State, just won a championship.
Yeah.
He's somewhat, I believe, like 6'4", 3'6", and he's able to put him in like twists and stunts. Like he's so athletic, high motor. So he's another one to look out for in the
Hmm.
defensive tackle in round 2 if we were to prioritize something in the first round.
Yeah, I love that. Do you think I think the biggest knock on him that I've seen is a lack of developed pass rush moves at this point in time? Do you think that there's more there to that, or do you think that he's just a really solid run stuffer? You know, I mean, how do you feel about his ability to become a better pass rusher at the
Yeah, I mean,
next level?
yeah, at the very least, elite run defender, but he does kind of have the short arms. I believe they're about 32 inches. So he's gonna have to increase that pass rush, especially when he's going against, offensive linemen that have longer arms, disengage from blockers, disengage from double teams. So I think he's gonna have to incorporate some pass rush moves. But I feel like just him, if we were to get him in the second round, just being in a room with Wyatt, Clark, being around veterans and with the new defensive line coach, if they can kind of add some package to his pass rush, I think he has huge upside. I think he's so young and he has a lot of potential to add more pass rush moves to his arsenal where he has the potential to be a top 10 tackle within the next 2 to 3 years. But there's a lot of upside. He just needs to add more pass rush, especially with his short arms.
Indeed, great analysis, John.
All right. So we all know that we won't be able to have enough picks to take everything. We do have a good bevy, right? 2 7-round picks, so 8 in total. But what position do we think everyone will Goody draft that will surprise / shock everyone for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I know cornerback, defensive tackle, and edge are kind of just like, all right, that won't be surprising. But a surprising pick where we'll be like, what? Will probably be offensive tackle. I think that'll be a very surprising pick, but would probably make a little sense, right? Rasheed Walker in his final year of his rookie deal. Probably can't franchise tag him because that'll probably be almost $30 million. Then we have to pay Zach Tom, which I believe we're going to give him that money. Sean Ryan, free agency. And I'm kind of starting to get the feeling that, with us drafting Jordan Morgan, I have a feeling that the Packers might just look at him as just a guard. That's the way that I'm looking at it. I mean, I do know he has a versatility to play guard and left tackle, but I feel like by us drafting him, I feel like he spent more time competing at guard than he did at left tackle, and maybe he could be the future Zach Martin. We don't know. But if he does beat out Sean Ryan and he has a Pro Bowl caliber season, there's a big question mark at the left tackle position, and we kind of need to protect the blind side for Jordan Love. And if someone like Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons, or maybe Josh Connerly are at pick 23 and we're thinking long term of protecting Jordan Love,
Mhm.
that could be a very surprising pick that I can see Goot doing, just thinking long term for the next 10 years. And
Mhm.
just looking at some games, like when we played the Detroit Lions the second time around, our offensive line was cracking against the C squad of the Detroit Lions. Like that can't happen with our A squad.
Mhm.
And especially with against the Philadelphia Eagles, like when one body went down, the offensive line just started to crack down, and Love was just not having any time to do what he can. So I could definitely see the surprising pick for beefing up the offensive line again, and is thinking long term and giving Love time in the
Mhm.
pocket and thinking future at the blind side. That would be the surprising pick.
What about you, Jordan? What do you feel?
I was just going to comment on that because I think as early as round 3, I would not be surprised and really believe that they should add offensive line, in round 3, 4, day 3, because we probably need at least one more body with high end potential
Yeah,
for depth purposes, especially like a swing tackle type. But to your point, like if the Goody does that in the first round, I think there's going to be a contingency of Packers fans that are going to be upset because they're going to say, "What in the
yeah,
world are we doing?"
yeah.
From Goody always plans a year ahead,
Hmm.
and I think you're spot on, John. That he might be looking at contracts, and he might be thinking, I can't, we're going to pay Zach Tom, but it's going to be hard for us to maintain that line and have that depth. So
Yeah. And similar to life, right? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but similar to life,
yeah,
right?
you're
It's
good.
better to have something when you don't need it. So
Mm.
when you have it, it's like, all right, then you don't get it when you need it. And it's like, oh crap. Like, and let's say hypothetically, let's say Sean Ryan goes down and Rasheed Walker goes down. Morgan has right guard. And now we're relying on a developmental round 3, round 4 left tackle to protect Love. And it's like, oh God, like he's not even pro ready. So I think that could make sense if he goes that
Mhm.
round 1.
And that can be a season wrecker, right? I mean, arguably, we know one of the biggest reasons we didn't maybe get it done at the end of Aaron Rodgers' career, that playoff run where David Bakhtiari got hurt. I mean, having him at left tackle there could have made a tremendous
Yeah.
difference on their ability to finish that run, right? So All really great
Yeah.
points.
And I believe I read something that in the last 4 years of our playoff exits, at least one offensive lineman starter was down before the playoffs or during the playoffs. So it kind of that hurts to know that our offensive line seems to crack in the most important times of our season. So I can see Goop making that shocking, surprising
Hmm.
pick.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Rob.
and I was just gonna say I wouldn't hate that, as well too, right? Building up the trenches. So, but yeah, that would definitely go a little bit out of the mold. But
Mhm.
I would also look back at that and think that that's very Packersy.
Yeah.
My surprising pick is not quite as shocking on a day one thing, but we've teased this a little bit before. But I still think Matt LaFleur is seeking his Kyle Juszczyk, and
I know where you're
that
going.
I think that on day two that the Packers could take a tight end gadget player, somebody who kind of traditionally doesn't meet what they need, and also we might be looking at, okay, well, we got a defensive tackle or an edge rusher, we got our corner, we still need depth at offensive line, we still need other things, and here we go, we still need a wide receiver, we haven't taken a wide receiver, but
Mhm.
here's Harold Fannin Jr., a tight end,
Wow.
undersized tight end from Bowling Green State. But I think, they saw them draft gadget players that they've wanted to turn into something in the third round before, and Amari Rogers, and who was the other guy that I'm trying to think of? I don't know. But yeah, I think that could be a surprising pick, especially for positions of need still on the table for the Packers. You got a surprise pick, Rob?
All right, so bold and what if? So, but I've been hearing a lot of rumors, and I feel like every year I get down to the swirl. But draft is in Green Bay. What happens if they end up taking a wide receiver in the first round? I've been hearing rumors that they were
Mhm.
at Tate McMillan's workout, a lot of Packer scouts, and a bouquet from Ohio State, right? Like, what happens if this is the year? Now, I don't think it'll happen, but
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there as a possibility. You never really know. Packers haven't done that in 20 something years, so I guess I will believe it when I see it. But
Mhm.
a Matthew Golden, Bouquet, some other ones we've talked about too as well. Trading up maybe to get
Yeah.
Tate McMillan. I'd be surprised to see it happen, but
Yeah.
also this offense needs that kind of bucket getter. That person's going to catch these passes. You got Watson that's going to be out. Tate McMillan fills in exactly for that, right? Great route running, great length, great catching ability, doesn't have drop issues. So, prospects like that, I think it could immediately come in and would be an absolute shock if Goody did that for the
Mm-hmm.
Packers.
And I think
So,
another one is Jaden Higgins is another one that to look out
right.
for as well. I mean, if we don't select him in the first round, he might not
Could
even
be
be there in the
gone.
round two. So what if the Packers just trade back, pick 30 and 31, and you know what? Let's get Jaden Higgins before anyone else does. That could be the surprising, I don't hate it.
Do you think it could be like what they did with the draft with Christian Watson, right? They trade back and then traded back in to be able to get Christian Watson there in that early second round.
There's a possibility. My fear is
Mm-hmm.
just giving up so much capital just to
Yeah,
go up and get a receiver like we did with
right.
Watson. I believe we gave up beefy draft picks to the Vikings for Watson. So I'd rather us trade back and just reach for a receiver than be, oh crap, let's give this team 3 picks. But it would be nice if we could get a wide receiver in the first round, especially the long term. I mean, Watson final year, Dobbs final year, I believe Melton and Heath as well, and also with Dobbs, I mean, the concussion things is really concerning. The suspension that he went through. Khalil, I hate to use the comparison, but Khalil Shakir just got that contract extension for $15 million. Dobbs has more targets, more receptions, more receiving yards, and more touchdowns than him. So if he got $15 million and good pass catchers are getting paid in free agency,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna be like, I want 20 to 21 if he's getting 15. And we're gonna be like, oh crap, I don't think we could do that. There's a possibility that could happen.
Yeah, I think Shakur actually got 3 years, 60 million. He's getting 20 million average annual value. So Dobbs is definitely getting
He's gonna,
that, as you
Yeah,
alluded to.
yeah,
I like Mbuka as the first round guy
yeah.
there. And I love the idea of trading back to picks 31, 36, and just
Yeah.
picking up an extra third rounder. If we draft Jaden Higgins at pick 34 and get an additional third rounder in the process, I would respect that process and be thrilled, even though I'm going to be standing there on Thursday night of the draft, hoping the Packers make a selection, and then
Imagine
slightly
that.
disappointed that I got to wait until tomorrow now for that to
Man,
happen.
yeah, that's the worst.
So we're gonna have a little fun with a little 3-round mock where we're each gonna make a selection where we're gonna use PFF. I did want to amend my brain fart earlier. The other guy I was trying to think of was Josiah DeGuara as another one of Matt LaFleur's potential toys as an undersized tight end in this offense. So that was the name I was trying to come up with. But Rob, why don't you load our PFF mock draft machine here? And let's have a little bit of fun. So we're going to each make a selection. John is going to do our first round pick for us. Rob is going to make our second round selection, and I will make our third round selection. We're not going to get crazy with trades. We'll just stick and pick and try to put together a good draft for you here. But I guess going into it, John, if you're leading the charge, we'll see what players are available, but how do you want to attack this 3-round mock if you could make a plan and execute it?
Plan, I would probably get the defense going. I would probably say, Goot really wants to get pressure with 4 men down. And just, I feel like when you have that consistent pressure on the defensive line, it makes life easier for your pass defense. So I think that should be the big plan.
Awesome.
Well, we're going to get going here. So 3 rounds, we got it down the middle too as well. And as we're alluding to, John will be making the first pick, I will be making the second pick, and Jordan will be our last pick for this. Dual Carter. No
Dual
shocker.
Carter.
He goes there first.
Yeah.
We've got some great names on this board that we were just talking about. So
yeah, if I'm here and he's on the board, you can't go wrong with Kenneth Grant here. I'll probably go with Kenneth Grant if he's in my face here. I think that'll be huge. I think he'd eat up double teams and kind of let Edgerrin Cooper or Walker just seam down the middle. And I think he's having a big bite, like you said. Probably the second coming of BJ Raji. Way higher ceiling and upside than what TJ Slayton was able to provide. And Kenneth Grant will be, I think, to me, the number 1 nose tackle in this draft. I like Kenneth Grant here at this pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
And look who else is right here for us, right? Josh Simmons and Emeka Mbuka, 2 of our players that we talked about, whether we go rogue and we select the wide receiver or we solidify the offensive line, it aligns with the conversation. But
if we go D tackle, and you can't go wrong with either Grant or Harmon if Gutzman is on defensive tackle. But I would probably go get Grant if he's in my face here. Get beefy there.
All right.
Let's get him.
Let's do it. John is forever in our good graces for taking Kenneth Grant. All right.
I love it.
Going down to me. And let me just take a look here. I assume
big run on corners there.
Yep. Jaden Higgins went 35. Okay. That was one I was eyeing.
Like you said, like going to pick 34 and getting Higgins, like if we were, that would have been the pick right there at 34.
Look, we could take TJ Sanders here at pick, he fell. I don't know that he's going to actually fall to 54, but I think that's realistic, So if we had a combination like that, traded back, got Higgins, got a TJ Sanders type, which I think is a, useful 3-tech as well, that would not be a bad way to attack this draft in a different reality, but we've already taken Kenneth Grant, so.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some other ones here. Darian Porter, dude is out of his mind with his RES score, but on the older side too as well. And I kind of have some questions. Not his straight line speed. I'm sure I know he can recover pretty well, and also not as much experience too with him. So I'm a little bit shy as far as he goes. Morrison down here. That's intriguing.
We were left with so much edge and defensive tackle depth at this position, and now we're in an interesting spot where the corners and the wide receivers that we really liked are not available anymore. So Rob, what are we gonna do here?
Glad I took the second pick with this one. This would be a tough one, but I might load up here too with TJ Sanders again too, like we were just talking about, trying to get as much pass rush. I know that's obviously very redundant, I mean, I'm just gonna see.
What about Jared Ivey? He's a Packers type at edge.
Yep.
He was there if we want to get another outside body.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me take a peek into him, but he's somebody we talked about too as well. Really good pass rush grade, run defense grade. I think he does meet the threat. Yeah, 6'6", 285. Lineman, speed to power is good. Yeah.
He's, somebody right here at pick, 54, somebody that would not mind at all. He's close to the PFF consensus at this ranking. John's priority as our GM for the day was to strengthen the pass rush and to win with 4. It gives us a good option, and then we feel really good about the front 7 moving forward, I think.
Yep. Jared Ivey it is.
Yeah.
All right, so we're good on the defensive line and the edge now, so we still need a corner. We talked about offensive line depth in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul Jr. is a linebacker that I do like too, that I think has versatility. We just signed Christian Welch back, so we have five linebackers in that room. So I don't know that we have to attack linebacker here. Elijah Roberts in another world is kind of a tweener, defensive tackle, defensive edge player. We have Jalen Noel.
Yeah, Jalen Noel. Yeah.
He's awesome. I'm just really worried that he's really redundant with Jaden Reed, and I'm not sure that he diversifies this room. But like without Jaden Reed on our roster, I would love him.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just hope he gets more involved this upcoming season because I kind of feel like he got phased out last year. Hopefully, we can kind of get Reed going.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit more, Rob. I just want to see, we're getting to that time. So we talked about Harold Fannin Jr. a little bit earlier. Maybe in this position where we don't love a lot of other guys, I was kind of hoping there'd be an offensive tackle prospect here that I wanted to take. Oh yeah, Wyatt Millam, a guy we really like, went right before us.
Although, I think I saw Williams from Texas on there. I think it was like on the beginning of the board. I think I saw him.
Open him up, Rob. We need to learn a little bit more about Cameron Williams, but terrible gap grade, and we run a lot of gap running sets. What are his height and weight as well?
6'5", 335. Almost
he also
22.
would be. Yeah, the Packers haven't selected an offensive lineman heavier than 326.
Right.
So I don't know that he's a fit for our run scheme or by traditional height and weight. Like they would draft him late if he fell to like round 5. I think they'd take a chance on him to develop him, but Charles Grant's a little light. All right, we're gonna make a selection here. We're kind of hemming and hawing because we're kind of left. Our strategy kind of went off the board.
Got us a little, got us scratching our heads a little bit.
So, all right, I'll lean into you guys because here's the 3 players that I'm thinking about at this point in time options. So, one, we can have maybe the best linebacker room in the NFL by adding Chris Paul Jr. to play alongside of Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. I really love that idea. We could get redundant with Jaden Reed and add a wide receiver who has really high upside, could add special teams, take some of that load off of, Nixon and Reed. Or we get Matt LaFleur's, H-back type finally figured out, and Harold Fannin Jr. So, John, if you had to lean into strengthening the linebacker room, maybe best linebacker room in the NFL, adding a dynamic receiver who can help us on teams, or getting Matt LaFleur's fun toy, which direction do you lean?
When in doubt, get the playmaker. That could be the fun toy. Maybe Harold Fannin Jr. I think LaFleur loves his tight ends. And God forbid if anything happens to Luke Musgrave again, maybe have a little chess piece with him side by side with Tucker Kraft. That could be really creative for Matt LaFleur.
That is a phenomenal point, and I'm thinking of him as more of this gadget player, but like Luke Musgrave is a total wild card for us at this point in time, to be honest. Has injury issues. He gives us the option for 2 tight end sets and to diversify that room, but You sold me. Let's select Harold Fandon Jr.
I love it. It's a good one.
That's it. Our board was a little wonky, but I still feel good about the results of this draft.
Yeah, I really feel good about it. We beefed up the defensive line with Kenneth Grant, got the heat with the pass rush. I mean, I know they gave us a D, but I think when it comes to being creative with tight ends, I think Matt LaFleur is probably one of the best coaches in the game when it comes to getting creative with tight ends. Especially like you said, Musgrave is still a wild card, and sometimes he kind of trips on his own feet when he has the ball. So kind of getting Harold Fandon Jr. and having that playmaker and chess piece of his offense to help open things up, I think that could be a bit creative.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, John. If you just want to tell our viewers where they can find your work and anything that you're working on, we'd love to make sure that they check out everything that you're doing as well.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. You guys can check me out on my YouTube channel, Rivas Talks Sports. Don't be afraid to watch any content, subscribe to the channel, but that's where you'll be able to catch me on. I'll slowly expand to my footprint, get X going, Instagram going, but right now it's purely on YouTube, so go check it out.
Make sure to link his YouTube channel too below as well, so you guys can click on that and go hit like and subscribe. So, all right, well, we appreciate it, and we all hope that you had a good experience with this and talking NFL prospects and all things Packers. But appreciate it, guys. Go Pack.
Go Pack.
Thank you, everyone, for coming back and taking a listen to us. We do genuinely appreciate it. Thank you to John from Rivas Talks Sports for coming on and giving us a very unique interview / 3-round mock for us. As always, fans, let us know what you think. What would you have taken somebody differently? And maybe you had another prospect in mind. But as always, we do have new content every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please make sure to go check out John's channel. We'll have that linked below for you to go and take a look at. But we are on social too. I am at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's, and Jordan is at Olsen Jord. But yeah, we appreciate it, Packers fans. We hope that you have a Gouda morning, a Gouda afternoon, and a Gouda night. Take care. Go Pack, go.
Been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay.